Alright, we're back for the final round of the Legacy Daily with Sneak and Show. We lost the die roll. Let's wait on our opponent and then take a look at our opening hand. Alright, so our opening hand looks pretty decent. We're on the draw, so we have a couple draw steps to hopefully hit a big guy. Use Spell Pierce to slow him down a little bit, depending on what he's playing, obviously. Ooh, I haven't seen foils yet on Moto. They look different. Hurt my eyes a little bit, honestly, but it's not that bad. Well, we drew a big guy. Next turn, I think I will play Ancient Tomb and then cast Gataxian Probe to see if the coast is clear. And then if it's not, I'll wait. If it is clear, then I may just jam the show and tell. Dueling Guru Islands, though one of them is much prettier than mine. Griselbrand was a good draw. Now, if he casts a show and tell here, I think that I have to Spell Pierce it, simply because if I put in Griselbrand, I basically have 14 draws to hit a Sneak Attack, an Emrakul, and a Lotus Petal. But he just played a Misty Rainforest and passed, so. Alright, well, we drew an Emrakul. I'm going to go ahead and pay 2. I'm not going to play the Ancient Tomb yet in case I draw a Brainstorm. That way I can play the fetch land and develop my mana a little bit better. Well, he Spell Pierces the Probe. I think that's okay. I'm not going to go for it. I think it's a little risky to do so. I could have pierced back to get more information, but I want to make sure I can pierce a Sneak Attack or what have you. I'm assuming it's a mirror. I could be wrong. It could be just some sort of mono blue deck, but alright, well, Ancient Tomb. Okay, well, this is getting a little awkward. I really don't want to cast Show and Tell. I feel like casting Show and Tell is incredibly dangerous unless I'm putting in an Emrakul and he has nothing. But he has enough mana to draw a bunch of cards. I think I'm just going to wait. I think the first one to bite here is going to maybe end up dying. Of course, if he has Show and Tell into Sneak Attack into Emrakul, then sure, you got me, but or Griselbrand. I can. If he casts Show and Tell with 2 mana up, I'll Spell Pierce it to tap him out, but looks like he's not going to do anything, just keep progressing his board similar to me. Alright, well now we get to take another look, hopefully. This is a pretty important Gataxian Probe, actually. Because if the coast is clear, then I'm just going to go ahead and jam the Show and Tell. And that could have been. Well, maybe I should have played my island first. I don't think it matters too much. Huh. I actually was wondering if he was going to force a will that. That's really funny. Okay, so he exiled a Show and Tell of his own. I mean, yeah, that's fine. Alright, well, next turn I can maybe Show and Tell in a Griselbrand, do some cool stuff. Draw a bunch, hit a Sneak Attack, put it into play, but he's only got 3 cards in hand. If he goes for cast Sneak Attack here, I just have to cast Show and Tell, but alright, well, I think I'm going to go for it. We'll start with the Show and Tell. I'm going to put in the Griselbrand, and then I get to draw 7, and then I if I had a Lotus Petal and a Sneak Attack, or a Show and Tell, a Sneak Attack, and a Lotus Petal, then we can maybe come out alive. But if he has an Emrakul and I just brick off, I'm going to die. Oh, he has nothing. Wow. That is interesting to say the least. Alright, well, we hit a Lotus Petal. We'll cast it. I'm going to go ahead and try to cast a Sneak Attack, since we have one on backup. Or maybe not. Maybe I'll just hold up double Spell Pierce in case he casts, let's see, 2, 4. I guess I can, actually, I should probably just try to ponder into a Show and Tell or a Force of Will. Yeah, made a little bit of a mistake here, not pondering before shuffling. Alright, well, we're actually just going to move to discard and try to double Spell Pierce, I suppose. That way we get to play around his Spell Pierce. Alright, so we have 9 cards, so we'll discard Ancient Tomb and Emrakul. Shuffle those back in. Pretty interesting game. Mirror matches are usually pretty fun. So basically here he has to have a Sneak Attack, or he would have put in a Fata if he had it. He probably would have tried to cast Sneak Attack earlier if he had it. So yeah, we'll just let Brainstorm resolve. Just try to double pierce whatever big spell he goes for. It is kind of cool that he had nothing though, and I could have show and telled much earlier. I think it's pretty funny. Brainstorm again. Okay. Well, the more Brainstorm type things he casts, the better it is for me. That way, or I mean, it's good and it's not good. Like he finds more cards, but I get to make my Spell Pierces a lot better. So just playing a lot to dig spells. Chose to not shuffle. Okay. I'm not sure if he's played a land this turn. It's kind of hard to dig through the chat logs. So. Alright, I guess we can look in just a moment. Alright, so plays Brainstorm. Alright, we'll just Spell Pierce this. And then play Sneak Attack next turn and kill him. Yeah, so his hand, he was just a bunch of Enablers and Spell Pierces and not a lot else. This is a matchup where Omniscience is awesome, because I can actually... Uh-oh. Well, I was thinking I was going to get bugged again. I was going to add three Through the Breaches to my sideboard. So we bring in the 2 Through the Breaches and the Boseiju. We don't really have a lot to bring in. Gitaxian Probe is great in this matchup. Sneak Attack, not so much. On the draw, I like to cut a couple copies of Show and Tell. And I think I can actually just cut 3 copies of Show and Tell. Although, it makes Omniscience a lot worse when I'm cutting Show and Tell. So maybe I just cut 2 Show and Tells and 1 Omniscience. The matchup is a lot about Sneak Attack, but if you can Show and Tell in a Sneak Attack or an Omniscience, you're usually in pretty good shape. So maybe I just need to rethink my sideboarding when I have Omniscience in my deck. Spell Pierce is fine. Gitaxian Probe feels like it's important. I think... Yeah, the matchup, usually, like, we slow down a lot, and Spell Pierce just gets a little worse, or it just, like, hits Brainstorms pretty early on, which is fine. I think I'm just going to cut 2 copies of Show and Tell and 1 Spell Pierce, and I'm going to bring in the Boseiju and the 2 Through the Breaches. My sideboard's a lot different. I haven't played a mirror in a while. I cut the Swan Songs, actually, for various other sideboard cards like more Pyroclasms, more Grafdigger's Cages, and Ley Lines of Sanctity. So I'm not entirely sure how to sideboard. Normally I board out all my show and tells on the draw, but now that I have Omniscience, I think it's a little different. So we'll see. Alright, game 2. This hand is keepable because of the Brainstorm. However, it's not fantastic. You know, I'm probably going to wait till turn 3 to cast the Brainstorm so that I don't get spell pierced. So, alright, well, he just plays the Lotus Petal to make sure it doesn't get countered, which might mean he's a little bit land light, which is actually pretty good for me. I probably should have played Volcanic Island first, if I was going to cast the Brainstorm or bluff or whatever. I would rather have the Volcanic, I think. Bluffing Spell Pierce. Alright, but again, people usually slow down a little bit. You know, it's pretty bad to get caught off guard. But we can't afford to have our Brainstorm get Spell Pierced. We're fine with it getting like double Spell Pierced, but we're going to wait one more turn to cast it. Now if he just cast Sneak Attack here, we would probably Brainstorm in response to try to find something. Alright, well, Gitaxian Probe, that's pretty good. Well, we'll lead with this just to give us some information. We don't really want to play City of Traders. Probably just going to play the other Volcanic, but I might actually play the Island and shuffle the Volcanic back in. And the reason you do that is because a lot of times when you're drawing cards off Gristlebrand, you need lands to still be in your deck. Or red lands to still be in your deck, so you can draw a fetch land to fetch for a Volcanic to activate Sneak Attack. It's kind of a rare situation, but it does come up every now and then, so I usually try to keep them into my deck if possible. Alright, well, he's Brainstorming to protect, quote-unquote, his cards, but basically just to reveal less information to me. But I think I'm okay with that. I'm kind of hoping I see a hand without Spell Pierce. Alright, so we got Swansong, Power Blast, Force, Brainstorm. Alright, well, that's a lot of goodies. We drew a Sneak Attack. It's not bad. Yeah, we're just going to sit, though. I probably should have actually main phased this Brainstorm, but I wanted him to use the mana on his own turn. If he Pyroblasts this, which I'm sure he's going to do, there's not a whole lot we can do about that, so it's not a big deal. He's got way too much mana for us to obviously consider Spell Piercing, and we obviously don't have Spell Pierce, but so it's a pretty safe bet that Pyroblast from him is going to resolve, but not a lot of our spells are going to resolve anytime soon, which stinks, but I'm okay just playing lands and saying go. I may just cast Sneak Attack next turn and force him to burn Swansong or his Force of Will, but I do want to play around Spell Pierce so that he can't get that, because if he has a Swansong, I'd much rather him use Swansong. Alright, we're going to play the Ancient Tomb so we can continue to play lands without having to sacrifice a land, because that might come up at some point. Now, if he goes Swansong, okay, well, Brainstorming, I guess he doesn't really want to cast Swansong, he just wants to Spell Pierce it and then try to combo me. But, yeah, he's going to force it instead, and he pitches Ponder to the Exile Zone. That's fine. So he doesn't want to give me a bird. It's good to note. Alright, so now we need to draw... Well, we actually need to draw multiple things, since he has a Swansong still. We're just going to keep playing our lands. It's funny, we're probably going to get to the point in this game where we can cast Omniscience if we draw it, and he's going to Swansong it. Yeah, we actually have access to 10 mana next turn if we wanted. But it looks like we're probably just going to get hit with a sneak attack Emrakul because we don't have any protection. And he has a Swan Song to protect, so if he draws it, he's definitely going to go for it. But alright, well, let's brainstorm. If he Swan Songs this, I'm okay with that. Ooh, we drew Boseiju. Alright, well, this is going to be interesting. Alright, so we're going to play Boseiju and pass the turn. Next turn, we're probably going to Boseiju in a Griselbrand with Show and Tell, maybe. I'm going to go and play these Lotus Petals just in case he decides to Emrakul me. We can sacrifice all of our lands that deal us damage and maybe still have a chance in the game. This is an interesting matchup for sure. Boseiju is awesome, but looks like he's just going to go for an Emrakul or a Griselbrand here. Off of a sneak attack, more than likely. Yeah, maybe a Through the Breach, but yep, that resolves. Let's hope he doesn't have a guy. Or if he has a guy, hope he doesn't draw another guy. Okay, well, we sack our 2 fetches, the Ancient Tomb, the Boseiju, and then the 2 Lotus Petals, and we still have 3 mana to cast Show and Tell, but he has Swan Song. So, and we have 2 Griselbrands on top, so yeah, I guess we'll just get a bird. But we're gonna go to 1, so we just gotta sack anything that deals us damage, basically. And the petals are one-shots, so get rid of those. We may be able to kill him with a bird if he just doesn't draw anything. Which is pretty interesting, actually. We'll go ahead and cast Show and Tell and force him to counter it. Otherwise, we get to do the same thing to him that he did to us. Or not. Okay, well, we're going to put an Emrakul over Griselbrand. Okay, well, he just had 2 Emrakuls, so there's not a lot we can do. We'll concede. Alright, well, that was interesting. Okay, so on the play, we're going to bring back in the Spell Pierce. We may be able to use that a little more. That might have been a mistake to do that. And the 2 Show and Tells. We're just going to cut the Gitaxian Probes. I hate to cut this card in matchups where the life is not entirely relevant, but I don't know. You only have 60 cards to work with, and like bringing in the extra land and cutting the probes is like an extraversal, or is like breaking even on mana sources for the most part. And Show and Tell on the play is actually pretty good because of Sneak Attack and Omniscience. So. And there's a likelihood he just doesn't counter it, right? Like, if he has an Emrakul, you know, he knows that it's pretty unlikely he dies. But, alright, well, this hand is unplayable. This hand is fine, so. Alrighty. Well, we got an Ancient Tomb, which is awesome. And a couple of Show and Tells. So, and that Spell Pierce. So, next turn, we're gonna not cast Show and Tell. And we're going to cast it on turn 3 with access to red mana so that we can sneak attack him and hopefully draw into Griselbrand and Lotus Petal. And we'll have another... Oh, I should have put the Spell Pierce right here. That was a pretty big mistake. But it's unlikely he's going to try much of anything, honestly. Now the question is, I think I do want to draw the Spell Pierce so that I can Spell Pierce his Spell Pierce. But then if he puts in an Emrakul, we're going to be in a lot of trouble, so. Or even a Sneak Attack. Yeah, I really wish I had a Spell Pierce here. Being able to Spell Pierce this Ponder or Brainstorm would have been nice, but I think that's okay. Now I get to draw the Spell Pierce. I can consider cracking and countering back. Wonder what he's gonna do here. Maybe just cast another Ponder? Or maybe he just didn't want to get caught without access to the mana. Yeah, makes sense. Alright, well, let's go for it. I think I'm okay letting this one get countered, because I don't really want him to put in an Emrakul while I'm tapped out. And if I Spell Pierce now, that would be pretty bad for me, I think. But again, there is the option of him potentially just letting it resolve because he has an Emrakul in hand. And if he does that, then I basically get 14 draw steps, hit an Emrakul, and a Lotus Petal. But if he counters it, then I think I just let it get countered. And then I'll maybe do the same thing next turn. Although my Spell Pierce is likely going to be a lot worse next turn, so it's this weird cat and mouse game. Alright, well, he decides to Pyroblast, and now I have to think. So, next turn, it's pretty unlikely that my Spell Pierce actually does anything. Although, if I do want to potentially keep him off of playing a Sneak Attack or something, next turn if I draw a land or a Lotus Petal, I'm going to be able to do the same thing, hopefully, except also be able to Spell Pierce and activate. I didn't want to let it resolve and just put in Gristlebrand. If I did, and he put an Emrakul, then I just die. If he puts in a Gristlebrand, we're going to have this weird counter war over his hardcast Sneak Attack or Show and Tell next turn. I guess there's a small chance that he didn't have Emrakul, so maybe I should have just tried to fight over it, because now, after he's probing me, he's going to know that he can't really let this Show and Tell resolve. But if he counters this Show and Tell also, then I have some potential to just cast the Sneak Attack in a turn or two. Although it seems like he has a lot of counter spells after board with both Pyroblast type effects and Swan Song, so he's a little more set up for the mirror than I am. One of these days I'm going to experiment playing 2 Besejus, I think. So. Alright, well that's pretty good here. So he's brainstorming, which means if I get to Show and Tell and put in Sneak Attack, if I draw a land, my Spell Pierce is going to be good. And if he has a Spell Pierce, Pyroblast, or Swan Song, although if he has Force Will, that's fine. Him forcing Show and Tell is awesome in the matchup for me. And then I may be able to get to hardcast the Sneak Attack in a few turns. Possibly just the turn after, but I may want to try to wait and play around Spell Pierce. Or be able to use my own Spell Pierce. Interesting games, for sure. This matchup's a strange dance of sorts. Alright, we're going to go ahead and get a red mana source here. And cast Show and Tell. Now, again, if he wants to force this, I'm more than okay with that. Well, I'm not more than okay. I don't want him to force it. But if he does, it's not the end of the world. We haven't played a land yet, so it means that now we can draw Emrakul and either a Lotus Petal or a red source. Alright, well he's cracking Misty Reinforce in response. Don't know what that means. I'm very curious. I guess he brainstormed last turn, so maybe he's going to brainstorm again, try to find an answer. It is pretty dangerous here to use Show and Tell as the precursor. I think I just have to let this resolve, unfortunately. Yeah, I don't want to tap out. I feel like he's just baiting me to tap out so that he can put an Emrakul off of them. So we're not going to bite back. Just use the Spell Pierces defensively. But, Alright, well, an interesting turn of events. If he cast Sneak Attack, I Spell Pierce back, he has like Spell Pierce or Swan Song or Pyroblast. Then he gets to resolve it, and then I have to draw a land. Alright, we're gonna try to resolve this Sneak Attack. He's already played a Pierce and a Pyroblast. Kind of hoping he doesn't have another one. And it's possible he even has Through the Breach, so if I don't go for it, he gets to end of turn, cast Through the Breach. And then if I Spell Pierce it, he gets to untap and have free reign. Although awkwardly, if he casts Through the Breach, puts in a Gristlebrand, draws 7, has Force of Will, we can Pierce, but then we're in the same position except he gets to untap with like 12 cards in hand. So, strange game. I could have fought vehemently over the original show and tell before he cast the Brainstorm. It wasn't a high likelihood that he had Nimrakul immediately, but even if he just has a Gristlebrand, it's not great for me. And the fact that he like paused so long and thought about Power Blasting it meant that like he knows that if I put in a Sneak Attack off of the show and tell, it's going to be pretty bad for him. But I guess now he gets to hardcast Force of Will. No, okay, yeah, it looks like he is putting Through the Breach. All right. I'm going to take a gambit. I'm going to let this Through the Breach resolve and hope he's just baiting me to Spell Pierce, because he actually knows my hand. If this ends up being like the Nutter Butters, then I'm going to be really happy. But alright, well, it's a Gristlebrand. I really wish it was just a nothing, but I'm really hoping he whiffs and we get to kill him this turn, but it's not all that likely. Like, unfortunately, we Spell Pierce. He can't draw 7 again with his Force. So, we have that going for us at least. So, if he didn't draw it off the 7, like, he can draw 7 again. Yeah, okay. But now he can't Force Will anymore, so that's awesome for us. So, now we get to activate Gristlebrand, attack, or draw 7, try to hit a red source and an Emrakul. But, yeah. I mean, even if he had Force, he's at 1, so. He missed off the first 7, actually. And his back 7 may be pretty bad. So even if we don't actually kill him this turn, we're going to get to draw a bunch. So yeah, but alright, well, let's start the action. You can't Force. We're not actually... We may not attack, actually, if we don't draw Red Source Emrakul. Let's hope we do and just make it real easy. I don't want to have to think anymore. Legacy's hard, man. Alright, well, we drew a bunch more Gristlebrands and Spell Pierces. So what we can do is play a land, attack, and then during his turn we can Sneak Attack in another Gristlebrand, draw 7 more, and potentially block. Yeah, okay. Well, we can't kill him this turn, unfortunately, but we are going to attack so that we can potentially draw 7 more cards, and he cannot draw 7 more cards, even though... I mean, he has 17 cards in hand or whatever, so... It's possible we should have just left him at 1 so he couldn't fetch. That might have been a mistake. I think it was a mistake in hindsight. But we are now at 13, which means we can Sneak Attack, put put in Gristlebrand, draw 7 more. We probably should have main phased that, actually, and because now, see, we just pitch this Ancient Tomb. We're not going to need that. So now we may get Emrakul, and he can force. Yeah, that was really bad. But all we had was Spell Pierce, and we actually probably would have ended up dying anyway. So now we probably, if he casts Sneak Attack, we probably have to have double Force of Will off of our draw 7. Yeah, these spell pierces are useless. Well, actually, no. We probably need triple Force of Will, actually, because he likely, I mean, he has well enough mana to have like Power Blast and Spell Pierce and things. So, all right. Well, here goes nothing. We're probably gonna die. Although he did not have the force on the first draw 7, so maybe he only drew 1 force on the second draw 7. And maybe we'll just brick again and die, and then go 1-3. That's fine. Yeah, I mean, his deck's much better set up for mine for the mirror, so. Our draw was pretty good this game, but we could have played it a little differently. Alright, well, we didn't draw force, so he's probably just going to Emrakul us. Excellent. If we had tried to take less damage from our land, our Ancient Tomb, we would have been able to draw 7 more off of our initial Gristlebrand. I don't think that's actually possible, though, considering you know, how things played out or whatever. I'm assuming we're just dead here. We don't really have anything, so. And we have exactly 6 permanents, so. Well, the fact that he cast Ponder is interesting. Chose to shuffle, so maybe he doesn't have Emrakul. If we win this game, I will be impressed. Draws 14, or drew 7, missed the force, untapped, had a sneak attack, and doesn't have Emrakul. So, pretty awesome. I am dying with anticipation. I have a feeling like he's typing up this long Moto message like, oh my god, this game was so ridiculous, can't believe I didn't draw Emrakul or another Gristlebrand. Pretty funny, actually. Well, I'm on the edge of my seat, I'll say that, but I'm going to pause it and wait and see what he does. Alright, well, he's activating it. I guess it's a Gristlebrand if he was tanking so long, or he was just slow rolling me. Ah, slow roll, really? Alright. Well, that'll be the end of us. Not gonna hope he misclicks or whatever. Alright, well, that was Legacy Daily. A lot of really interactive and fun matches. Although we ended up going 1-3. The deck did not perform that well. I will say that I definitely missed having Jace in the deck. You know, it's not so much that you know, like Jace is good against Delver or whatever. It's actually really bad against Delver, but against matchups like the Mirror, just having a threat that they have to counter is nice, although it does tap you out. But Omniscience, we didn't really get to see it do anything, unfortunately, but there are you know, a lot of situations where like the Omniscience could be good. It just never really came up, and we got crushed pretty bad. So, next time I play the deck, I'm probably going to try a second Boseiju for the Mirror, since other people are just trying to bring in a ton of counter spells. It feels kind of dumb to rely on that kind of thing when you can just be aggressive with your Boseijus and leave in your Show and Tells. And you get to have much fewer sideboard slots. Against the Storm matchup, we didn't draw Leyline of Sanctity, which would have been great for us. I feel like that matchup is pretty close, and then the Delver matchups are coin flips as well. Overall, I really like Sneak and Show. It didn't really put up the performance that I wished it had, but sometimes that's how it happens. I'm also still getting used to the interface for version 4, and as you could probably see from watching these videos, it's not nearly as bad as everyone keeps complaining about or whatever. Like, it's obviously not fantastic, but I think it's okay. Anyway, guys, that's all for me this week. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.